Picture this. You're in a meeting. A colleague finishes presenting their idea. They look around the room and ask, "What does everyone think?" 3 people speak before you. You listen. You actually disagree with some of what they're saying. You can see a problem they haven't mentioned. And then it's your turn. You take a breath, and what comes out of your mouth is 2 words. I agree. That's it. You sit back. The meeting moves on. And as you walk out of that room, you feel it. That small, familiar sting. You had something to say, and you didn't say it.
Or maybe it's the opposite. You do try to share your opinion, but the words come out so soft, so hedged, so wrapped in apology that nobody actually hears your position. I think maybe, I'm not sure, but possibly we could consider, I don't know, what do you think? By the end of that sentence, even you have forgotten what your point was. So has everyone else. Today, we fix this. Because if you can't share an opinion clearly in English at work, you become invisible. You stop influencing decisions. You get passed over for the promotion. You watch other people get credit for the ideas you had first. And the real problem is not that you don't have opinions. You have plenty. The problem is that you don't have the English machinery to deliver them with confidence. 6 phrases, 1 formula. By the end of this video, you'll never default to "I agree" again. Let me tell you what I have learned from watching learners struggle with this for years. The reason most non-native speakers go silent in meetings is not lack of ideas, and it's not lack of vocabulary. It's a fear of sounding rude. In many cultures around the world, disagreeing directly with a colleague, especially a senior colleague, is considered impolite. You're taught to soften everything, to agree first, then maybe gently mention a concern, to never make anyone uncomfortable. And then you walk into a Western workplace or onto an international team, and the rules are completely different. The expectation is that you have opinions, that you defend them, that you push back when you disagree. Silence is read as having nothing to contribute. Hedging is read as being unsure of yourself. Agreement without engagement is read as not paying attention. But here is the catch. Your colleagues are not asking you to be aggressive. They are asking you to be direct. There is a huge difference between the two. Aggressive English attacks the person. Direct English commits to a position. Aggressive sounds like, "You're wrong about that." Direct sounds like, "I see it differently." Same disagreement, completely different impression. And this is the gap the 6 phrases fill. They give you a way to commit to a position, to be direct, opinionated, professional, without crossing into rudeness. They make you sound like a confident colleague, not a critic. Let's build them. Phrase 1. My take is. This is your everyday workhorse phrase for sharing an opinion. 2 words, casual but professional, used in every meeting in every English-speaking office every day.
My take is signals that what's coming next is your personal reading of the situation. You're not claiming it's the final truth. You're claiming it's how you see things. That distinction matters because it gives you full permission to be wrong. And when you give yourself permission to be wrong, you stop hedging and start speaking clearly. Listen to the difference. Hedged version. I'm not sure, but maybe we should think about whether or not we should change the timeline. My take version. My take is the timeline is too tight. Same idea. The first one disappears into the meeting noise. The second one lands. Someone might agree, someone might disagree, but everyone in the room now knows what you actually think.
My take is when you're invited to share an opinion, use it when there's a pause in a meeting and you want to step in. Use it in emails. My take is we should move the launch to next quarter. Done. 12 words and a clear position. Phrase 2. Where I land on this. This phrase is one of the most powerful pieces of business English most learners have never heard. It sounds advanced, but it's actually very simple to use. Where I land on this means, after I've considered everything, here is my final position.
The reason this phrase is so effective is that it signals thought. When you say "where I land on this," the listener understands that you didn't just throw out the first thing in your head. You weighed it, you thought about it, you arrived at a conclusion. That makes your opinion sound considered and senior, even if you only thought about it for 10 seconds. A typical use. The team has been debating 2 options. Other people have been speaking. Now it's your turn. You say, "Where I land on this is option 2, mainly because the risk on option 1 is bigger than we're admitting." 1 sentence. clean, decisive. Notice how it works in any kind of decision discussion, meetings, calls, written feedback. Where I land on this is we need to delay. Where I land on this is the client comes first. It commits you to a position while making it clear you've earned that position by thinking. Phrase 3, I'd push back on that. This is the polite, professional way to disagree in English, and it's something almost no non-native speaker uses, even though native speakers reach for it constantly.
To push back on something means to resist it, but in a workplace context, it means to challenge an idea or a decision constructively. It's the opposite of I don't agree or you're wrong, because instead of attacking the person, it engages with the idea. Your colleague proposes a plan you have concerns about. You don't have to say, I disagree. You can say, I'd push back on that a little. Then explain why. You've signaled disagreement, you've kept the conversation collaborative, you've made yourself look thoughtful instead of difficult. Notice the soft hedge. A little. That tiny addition keeps the tone open without weakening your point. I'd push back on that a little. The data we have doesn't really support that conclusion. You can also use it without the hedge for a stronger version. I'd push back on that. We tried something similar last year and it didn't work. Both are direct, both are respectful. Neither makes anyone feel attacked. Phrase 4, from where I'm sitting. This one is brilliant for moments when you want to give an opinion, but acknowledge that you only see part of the picture. From where I'm sitting means from my perspective, with the information I have. It's honest, humble, and confident at the same time.
Use this phrase when you're talking to someone in a different role, a different team, or a different level than you. They have context you don't. You have context they don't. The phrase signals that, but you still have a clear position. From where I'm sitting, the bigger problem is communication, not the timeline. The listener cannot accuse you of overreaching because you've already acknowledged the limit of your view, but you've still committed to a position. It's also useful in difficult conversations. Your manager asks you why a project struggled. Instead of blaming a teammate or making excuses, you say, from where I'm sitting, we underestimated how long the approvals would take. Honest, professional, owns your perspective without throwing anyone under the bus. The phrase carries an enormous amount of social skill in 5 short words.
Actually, let me pause here for a second. We're roughly halfway through, and if these 4 phrases have already given you something useful, I want to ask you to like this video and to subscribe to the channel. The voice you're hearing is AI. I'm being honest about that because you deserve to know. But the script, the lesson, the examples, the structure of everything you're learning right now was written and carefully reviewed by a human who has spent years working with professionals just like you. Every phrase was chosen because it actually works at work. Every example was crafted to sound like a real meeting you could be sitting in tomorrow. That takes real time. And the only way YouTube knows this channel is worth showing to other learners is when people like you hit the like button and subscribe. So if this is helping, drop a like, hit subscribe, and let's finish the lesson. Right, phrase 5. Phrase 5, what I'd add is. This is your phrase for building on someone else's point without simply agreeing with it. Most learners, when a colleague says something they partially agree with, say, yes, I agree, and stop there. That's a missed opportunity. Every time you only agree, you contribute nothing new. Every time you build, you become valuable in the room. What I'd add is signals that you're not just nodding along, you're extending the conversation. You're putting something on the table that wasn't there before. Your colleague says, I think we should focus on the enterprise market. You say, what I'd add is we'll need to rebuild the support team to handle that. Same direction, but now there's a real useful thought in the room that came from you. This phrase is one of the fastest ways to be noticed positively in a meeting. It makes you sound like a partner, not a passenger. And critically, it lets you contribute even when you don't have a strong opinion of your own. You don't need to disagree to be visible. You just need to add. What I'd add is 3 words, massive upgrade.
I see it differently. This is the cleanest, most professional way to introduce a contrary opinion. 3 words, direct, respectful, impossible to misread. When you say I see it differently, you accomplish 2 things at once. You signal that you've understood the other person's view, and you signal that yours is not the same. There is no attack in it. There is no apology either. It's a perfectly balanced phrase, and it is everywhere in fluent professional English. Compare these 2 reactions to a colleague's idea. Reaction 1, oh, well, I don't know, maybe it depends, I'm not sure if that's right, but maybe, you know. Reaction 2, I see it differently. I think the bigger risk is on the technical side, not the budget.
Reaction 1 wastes everyone's time and hides your point. Reaction 2 takes 4 seconds and tells the room exactly where you stand.
I see it differently also works when you need to disagree with someone senior. It is professional enough for any level. Use it in a calm voice, follow it with one clear sentence of reasoning, and you will sound like a person whose opinion the team should take seriously, because that is exactly how senior professionals talk. Now, let's put all 6 phrases into a system you can use under pressure. I call it FSI. Frame, State, Invite. F is frame. You open with one of the 6 phrases. My take is, where I land on this, I'd push back on that. From where I'm sitting, what I'd add is, I see it differently. The frame buys you a second of thinking time, and it tells the listener what kind of opinion is coming next. Agreement, disagreement, addition, or a fresh perspective. The frame is the runway.
S is state. One sentence, one clear position. Not 3 sentences, not a paragraph of justification. The most important rule in business English is that the more you talk to prove a point, the weaker the point sounds. One sentence. Specific, confident. If they want more, they'll ask. I is invite. After your state, you invite the other person back into the conversation. Does that match what you're seeing? Where does that land for you? Is that fair? What am I missing? This last step is the secret. It turns your opinion into a dialogue, not a declaration. It signals that you're confident in your view, but open to changing it. That combination, confident plus open, is what every workplace rewards. It makes you sound like a leader, not a lecturer.
Here is what FSI sounds like in real time. Your manager says, "What do you think about the new vendor?" Old version, I think they're okay, I don't know, maybe. FSI version, my take is we should sign with them. They hit every requirement and the pricing is fair. Does that match what you're seeing? 3 steps, 18 words. Notice how completely it changes the impression. Or harder, your director suggests a strategy you disagree with. Old version, yeah, I guess that could work. Sounds good. FSI version, I see it differently. I think we'd be stronger going after the existing customers first. What am I missing? Direct disagreement, no attack. The director takes you seriously. The invite at the end is what saves the tone.
Quick recap. 6 phrases for giving your opinion confidently in English at work. My take is your everyday opinion opener. Where I land on this, your final position after thinking. I'd push back on that. Professional, constructive disagreement. From where I'm sitting, your perspective, honestly framed. What I'd add is build on someone else's point. I see it differently. Clean, direct disagreement. And the formula, FSI, frame, state, invite. One phrase, one sentence, one question back. That is everything you need to stop saying "I agree" and start sounding like someone the team listens to. Here is what I want you to do this week. Pick 2 of these phrases, just 2. Use them in your next real meeting, your next call, your next email. Notice the shift in how people respond to you. Then come and tell me in the comments which phrase you used and what happened. I read every comment, and these stories are honestly my favorite part of running this channel. If this lesson helped, there's plenty more like it waiting for you on the channel. Practical workplace English for the moments that actually matter. Subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.